Angulimala was once feared as a ruthless murderer, a man who had lost all sense of humanity under the weight of deceit and ignorance. But his life took a profound turn the day he encountered Gautama Buddha. Instead of meeting anger or punishment, he met an ocean of compassion. Buddha's calm presence and fearless kindness broke through Angulimala's hardened heart, showing him that no one is beyond redemption. Through a few simple yet powerful words, the Buddha awakened within him a deep realization of the suffering he had caused. Overwhelmed with remorse, Angulimala abandoned his violent path and devoted himself to a life of peace and spiritual practice. His transformation stands as a timeless reminder that compassion has the power to heal even the darkest of souls, and that true change begins the moment one chooses the path of wisdom and nonviolence.
As Angulimala followed the Buddha back to the monastery, he felt a strange lightness rising within him, as if the weight of years of violence had finally begun to melt away. The monks, frightened at first, could hardly believe that the dreaded killer now walked with folded hands behind the enlightened one. Yet the Buddha welcomed him without hesitation, teaching that a sincere heart can change at any moment. Under the Buddha's guidance, Angulimala learned to meditate, to control his mind, and to cultivate compassion for all living beings. Slowly, the fire of hatred that once fueled his actions was replaced by calm understanding and deep remorse. His transformation inspired many who had once feared him, proving that no matter how far a person has fallen, a single moment of true awakening can lead them toward a life of peace, purpose, and liberation. As days turned into weeks, Angulimala's transformation grew even more remarkable, becoming a living testament to the Buddha's teachings on compassion, forgiveness, and inner awakening. In the monastery, he spent long hours in silent meditation, observing the restless currents of his mind, the anger he once embraced, the fear he inflicted upon others, and the pain he carried deep within. Under the Buddha's gentle but firm guidance, he gradually learned to face these shadows without running away. Every lesson, every word of wisdom began to plant seeds of clarity within him. He realized that violence had not made him strong, it had only trapped him in endless suffering. Now, for the first time, he felt the quiet strength that comes from peace. Meanwhile, news of his transformation spread across the kingdom, and although many people doubted its sincerity, others were moved by the depth of his change. Some approached him cautiously, seeking to understand how such a terrifying man could be reborn into a monk of humility and gentleness. Angulimala never justified his past nor hid from it. Instead, he used his own life as an example, teaching that ignorance blinds the heart, but wisdom opens it. He devoted himself to acts of kindness, caring for the sick, helping travelers, and offering comfort to those burdened by fear or sorrow. Even when insulted or rejected by the people he once harmed, he responded with patience and compassion, determined to repay the world with goodness. One day, while walking for alms, he encountered a woman struggling in labor, crying out in pain. Moved by her suffering, he returned to the Buddha, seeking a way to help her. The Buddha instructed him to offer a simple blessing. "Sister, since the day I was born into the noble life, I have not knowingly harmed any living being. By this truth, may you and your child be well." These words, spoken with complete sincerity, eased the woman's suffering and safely brought her child into the world. This miracle became the final proof of Angulimala's complete inner transformation. No longer a symbol of terror, he became a symbol of hope, a reminder that compassion is stronger than violence, and that even a heart once lost in darkness can shine with the light of wisdom. Through the Buddha's boundless mercy, Angulimala discovered the profound truth that every soul carries the potential for goodness, and that redemption is always possible when one chooses the path of truth, mindfulness, and love.
As time continued to pass, Angulimala's journey of inner purification deepened, turning his life into a living example of the Buddha's profound teachings on transformation. Though he had shed his old identity, the memories of his past deeds often resurfaced in silent moments of reflection. Instead of running from them, he learned to face them with courage, accepting responsibility while nurturing a sincere commitment to never repeat such harm. The Buddha taught him that true liberation does not come from denying one's past, but from understanding it, learning from it, and rising above it. Gradually, Angulimala developed a serene presence that touched everyone who crossed his path. His calm eyes, once filled with rage, now radiated empathy and understanding. Many who once trembled at the mention of his name now approached him seeking guidance, marveling at how deeply a human being could change. Angulimala never claimed credit for his transformation. He always pointed to the Buddha's compassion as the force that awakened his conscience. Yet life continued to test him. Often, villagers who had lost loved ones to his previous violence hurled insults, stones, and harsh words at him. Some shouted that a murderer could never truly become pure. Each time, Angulimala endured the pain silently, remembering the Buddha's words, "Hatred is never conquered by hatred. It is conquered by love." Over time, his patience softened even the hardest hearts. Little by little, the same people who once condemned him began to see that he was no longer the man who had caused them suffering. One evening, as he sat beneath a tree watching the sun set over the quiet fields, he reflected on how drastically his life had changed. He realized that the Buddha had not only saved him from a path of destruction, but had also opened a doorway to a life of meaning, one rooted in truth, service, and compassion. His days were now filled with humble acts, teaching children to be kind, helping elderly villagers gather firewood, comforting those in grief, and reminding everyone that transformation is possible for anyone who sincerely seeks it. Over time, he became a beacon of hope, proof that one act of compassion can change not only one life, but countless others. His presence itself became a lesson that no matter how lost or broken a person may seem, the light of wisdom can guide them toward redemption. In the quiet depths of his heart, Angulimala understood the greatest truth the Buddha had shown him. The power to change the world begins with the power to change oneself. And with each passing day, he continued to walk the path of peace, offering to others the same compassion that once saved him. As Angulimala continued to walk the Buddha's path, his life gradually blossomed into one of profound service and silent wisdom. Though he had renounced violence long ago, he knew that the true battle lay within. The battle against restlessness, guilt, and the remnants of his former self that occasionally tried to rise from the shadows. Through daily meditation, mindful breathing, and deep reflection on the Buddha's teachings, he learned to observe every emotion without attachment, letting waves of regret and sorrow dissolve into clarity. This inner discipline gave him a rare humility that touched the hearts of all who met him. He spent hours helping villagers rebuild homes, fetch water, or care for the sick, often working quietly in the background without drawing attention. Many found it hard to believe that this gentle monk was once the feared killer whose name had terrified the kingdom. One day, a group of young men approached him seeking advice on anger and revenge. They had heard stories of his transformation and wished to understand how such a drastic change was possible. Angulimala spoke to them softly, sharing that violence had never given him peace, only emptiness and endless fear. True courage, he told them, was not in harming others, but in facing one's own mind, breaking the chains of hatred and choosing compassion, even when the world expects cruelty. His words touched them deeply, and they left with newfound respect for the power of inner change. Yet Angulimala's path was never free from challenges. Some people still feared him, some distrusted him, and a few even followed him around to remind him of his past crimes. But instead of anger, he welcomed their hatred as an opportunity to deepen his patience. When stones were thrown, he responded with silence. When harsh words were spoken, he answered with kindness. Slowly, this unwavering gentleness began to melt even the coldest hearts. Over time, he became a symbol of hope for those trapped in guilt, fear, or despair. His life showed them that it is never too late to take a new path, that even the darkest past cannot drown the light of sincere transformation. The Buddha often watched him with quiet satisfaction, knowing that Angulimala's journey would inspire generations long after both of them had left the world. And Angulimala, in turn, felt endless gratitude toward the teacher who had saved not only his life, but his entire being. Under the vast Bodhi sky, he often reflected on the unimaginable mercy that had awakened his inner truth. He knew now that compassion was not simply a virtue, but a powerful force capable of reshaping destiny. And so he continued his journey, step by step, spreading peace wherever he went, carrying within him the eternal message that even the worst of mistakes can become the foundation of the greatest transformation when touched by wisdom and love.
As years passed, Angulimala's presence became a quiet blessing to every village he visited, for people slowly began to realize that his transformation was not a temporary change, but a profound rebirth. He walked barefoot on dusty roads from dawn till dusk, collecting alms with humility and offering blessings to anyone who sought relief from life's burdens. The once terrifying man now carried an aura of serenity that soothed even the most troubled minds. Villagers would gather around him to listen to his soft, steady voice as he explained the Buddhist teachings, how suffering arises from ignorance, how compassion liberates the heart, and how a single moment of awareness can change an entire lifetime. Often, people approached him with fear at first, recalling stories of his violent past, but the kindness in his eyes gradually dissolved their hesitation. Angulimala never shied away from speaking about his mistakes. He openly admitted the harm he had caused, saying that the weight of his past pushed him to walk more gently with every step. He believed deeply that his life was a living lesson, that if someone like him could transform, anyone could. Yet despite his spiritual progress, life continued to test him, reminding him that the path of enlightenment is not free from challenges. Sometimes he met the relatives of his past victims, who screamed in grief and anger, demanding to know why fate had spared him. Instead of defending himself, Angulimala bowed before them, offering sincere apologies with tears in his eyes. He accepted their rage as part of his karmic journey, understanding that forgiveness blossoms only when given time and space. These moments humbled him even further, teaching him the depth of others' suffering and strengthening his resolve to live a life of service. Over time, his tireless acts of compassion began to heal the very people he had once hurt. Slowly, the villagers who once cursed his name found comfort in his presence, realizing that he now lived only to uplift others. The king himself praised Angulimala's transformation, often sending messengers to ensure that the monk had everything he needed. Yet Angulimala remained unattached to praise or recognition. The only validation he sought was the quiet approval in the Buddha's gentle smile. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the horizon and a cool breeze brushed through the trees, Angulimala sat in deep meditation, reflecting on the extraordinary journey that had guided him from darkness to light.
He understood now that compassion is not simply an emotion. It is a force capable of reshaping destiny, healing wounds, and awakening dormant goodness in every being. With every breath, he silently thanked the Buddha for seeing the spark of humanity within him when the world saw only a monster. And as he opened his eyes to the peaceful night sky, he felt an unshakable truth settle in his heart, that the greatest redemption lies not in escaping one's past, but in transforming it into a path of wisdom, compassion, and boundless love.